Okay, so now we've installed R in RStudio and we're ready to open some data files and play around with R. And so this is where it starts to get exciting, if you ask me anyway. And so let me, before we do that, just kind of show you what we have here. We have 4 windows open. If you fired up R, and you'll see that this area will be for programs, this one will be for output, this will show some data, and this will show some graphs and figures and such if you have them. So to move forward, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to my website, and you'll see this really very uninspiring website name, straviserto.com. I wish I could come up with something more clever, but I did not. And if you'll navigate to Intro to R and you click on it, you'll see that there are 2 links. The first one is to download a data file. It's a CSV file. And I'd like you to go ahead and do that. I want you to download it. And then the second one is a text file, and you'll download that one as well. So this is a little trickier. I was not able to include an R script or a program file on my website, so it's a text file. So I want to walk you through what you'll want to do. So you'll download it, and then you'll open up that text file. All right, and this is a pretty long file, but you will select it all, and then you'll go to R, and you'll go to this window. And if you don't have a window like that and it looks like this, you just click this button and click add a new R script, and then you can paste it. And once you paste it, you'll see that the program is now in this window. So you can save it in the same folder where you saved your data if you'd like. Now, there are a couple things that I want to show you or talk to you about immediately. First, you'll see as you scroll that there's some green text, there's some black text, and then you'll see some blue text. So the green text I want to highlight. You'll notice that every time there is a green line, you'll see a hashtag. Okay, this is a way to comment in an R script. And so these are not commands, these are just notes that I'm giving you. Okay, so you can read through some of those notes. So the first thing that I need you to do is we want to open up that data set that I created. And to do that, you have to tell R where it is. And you do this by establishing what's known as a working directory. And so there are a couple ways to do this. This might be subtly different if you're on Windows versus a Mac. You can go to Session, and then go to Set Working Directory, and then Choose Directory. And you'll see that it opens to a folder for me called R Data. That's where I keep all of my R data. Again, very clever name. Another way to do this is to go to, and they change this from time to time, so to go to Edit, then Settings, and you'll see right here, Default Working Directory. And so you could browse, and again, it pops up. You could choose any folder that you'd like. Just remember where you put it. And then the final way is to use the setwd command, and then you would paste the path of the folder. And we can do that, and you'll see it ends up in blue saying it ran that line. And so that's our working directory. Now, one way to make sure you did this properly is once you do it, you can say get working directory. And it will tell you, okay, this is your working directory right here. And so you want to make sure that you've set this up so that you can open the file and that the file is in this directory. And so now I'm going to show you how to actually open that data set. So I told you earlier that R is not, or should not be scary, but it is definitely quirky. And one of the biggest quirks is its reliance on this symbol right here, an arrow. This basically means equal to. Okay, so whenever you're creating something, you're often going to use that command. You'll get used to it. So what we're going to do right here with this line is we're going to read in the CSV file that you downloaded. And we're going to create a new data frame. That's what R calls data sets or data frames. And we're going to call this data frame RM data. Okay, and it's going to be used by using this command read.csv. and we're going to read that CSV file. So you highlight, so in R you could run the whole program, but I like to do things line by line in situations like this. And so you can highlight it, and you can click Run. Okay, and you'll see down here this blue command, everything worked properly. And you'll notice that something popped up here. Okay, and this is our data frame, RM data, and you can click on it. And this is kind of cool because it shows up right next to the program. And you can save this, by the way, as an R script if you'd like. I'm going to leave it as untitled for now. But let's get back to this data frame. The data frame or data set that I created this with a simulation, okay? And the simulation basically created a data set of 1,000 observations of, so think of these as 1,000 employees, all belonging to 200 teams, okay? And they all have measures of 3 variables: happiness, job satisfaction, and job stress, right? So we're going to use this data frame in this entire program to show how to manipulate data, and then we'll end up actually running models with the data as well. Now, a logical question might be, why does a strategy guy create a simulation with variables such as happiness, job satisfaction, and job stress? And I don't have a good answer for that, other than I think it's these 3 variables most people will understand, and it seems pretty user-friendly to me. And so that's really the reason that I did it, as opposed to talking about R&D intensity and ROA and things like that. So this is our data frame, and I'm going to call them data sets. I very rarely use that term, but it's technically a data frame. Now let's suppose that you would like to use only part of this data set. This happens from time to time in our data sets. And I want to just show you a command known as subset. And so what this command does is it says we're going to create a new data file known as rmdata2, and it's going to be just a subset of RM data. In other words, it's going to include only those observations with group ID less than 101, so the first 100 groups. And we can run that, and you'll see another data set pops up. This has 500 observations, so that makes sense, right? Because that's what we asked it to do. So we can also open up our original data set, and you can see that you can go back and forth pretty easily between data sets in R scripts. Really cool, really convenient. If you use software packages like Stata, this is not very easy. As far as I know, you can't really do this. Once you subset data, it's kind of gone until you call it back up. And so it's really cool, I think, to have all these data sets just in this environment and they're already loaded up. Now, the last thing I want to do is show you how to do the opposite of what we've done. And that is, we have this data frame here. It's in R. But what we'd like to do is save it as a CSV file, because we have to do this often, right, with data sets. We need to read CSV files. We need to write CSV files. CSV, I think, is just the most convenient way to work between software packages. So that's why we're not exporting them to Stata or SAS or whatever else. CSV can be read by any of them. So we're going to use this write CSV command. We're going to say, take this data frame, rmdata2, the smaller one, and write a new file called rmlabsmall.csv. And this tells it to keep the row names, or basically the variable names. You do that, and this should now appear in your working directory. So in this module, then, we've now learned how to open data sets, CSV files. We have learned how to create R files from these CSV files, and we also learned how to go the other way. Now we have R files or data frames that we've turned into CSV files. So in the next section, we'll begin to transform the data, and I'll show you how to do several different tricks with the variables. Okay, so stick around and we'll talk about that next.